Hello and welcome to my video today. I have a new product in from EVBASE. It is a Tesla to CCS1 adapter, and I'm going to be opening it up, checking it out, and testing it on my Fisker Ocean. So let's get started. All right, so here is the package. Let me open it up. And the product is in a plain cardboard box. Here's an image of the adapter. Here's some information on it. We have Supercharger to CCS1 adapter, IP rating of IP54, temperature rating minus 30°C to plus 50°C, voltage max 1000. We have power max 250 kilowatts. Do not use if damaged. Do not disconnect under load. So let's open it up and look inside. Inside we have a letter to the customer, and they're thanking you for supporting EVBASE. And then on the bottom we have some QR codes for the official website and also the Amazon store. Then underneath we have the actual user's manual here. This is only for Tesla Superchargers or DC fast chargers that have a NACS connector. Has an exclusive auto smart locking mechanism, super fast and efficient charging, advanced smart temperature control, safety certified, durable, weatherproof, and convenient. So let's see what else we have in here. We have the product introduction. And as I mentioned, it's not suitable with wall connectors, destination chargers, mobile connectors, or any other such as J1772 adapters. And here's the normal warnings. We have a parts overview, and I'll be showing that when we get it out of the box. Then we have some instructions on how to use it. And we have some more specs on here, pretty similar to what I showed on the outside of the box. Let's take the flexible styrofoam out, and we have the adapter, and we have a storage bag for it. So nice fabric storage bag with the cinch closure on top. So this will keep it nice and clean. Usually I would keep these in the trunk area or in the center console area or wherever you got room to place it in your car. So this is a very compact unit. Here is the top of it. We have a button right here that controls when you attach it to the vehicle. On this side we have the inlet or port for the Tesla Supercharger or NACS port. Then we have a safety release here. And then on this side, really nothing to see. Nothing on the bottom. And we'll go around on this side, and we do have the instructions. So that is handy to have, the printed instructions. So if you don't have the manual, you can follow the instructions right on the adapter itself. So it shows connecting the adapter first, adapter connected to the supercharger. So basically you connect the supercharger to the adapter, then you plug the combination into the vehicle's charging port. And then to remove the adapter, first press the CCS1 unlock button to remove the adapter from the vehicle's charge port. Then we press the NACS unlock button on the adapter and remove that from the cable. So pretty simple. And here is the side that connects to the car. We have the J1772 on top, but this is basically just the data connectors for CCS. So it allows it to know more information about the car. So the car's BMS will control the charger. And then we have the DC pins on the bottom. So basically communication on top, power on the bottom. So one of the things I want to mention is that in my area, Currently, there are no Tesla superchargers that are compatible with the Fisker Ocean. It's hard to say when that will happen, but I think it will happen at some point. There are V3 and V4 superchargers in my area. There are even some with the built-in Magic Dock, but they are not activated. So I can't even take the Magic Dock from the supercharger and insert it into the car. They're fully locked into the supercharger stall itself, so I can't test it. So unfortunately, in my area, the only cars that can use the Tesla supercharger are the ones that are officially able to use it, such as Ford, GM, Volvo, Hyundai, Kia, etc. What I will be able to do is test this with a local charging station that is nearby. I have an IONNA Rechargery, and they happen to have half their stations with the NACS plug. So this will be a perfect use for it. So for example, if you do go to a non-Tesla site that has both CCS1 and NACS connectors, you could attach this to the NACS connector and attach it to your vehicle. So for example, if those CCS1 plugs are all in use at those stalls, you could go to the NACS stalls, attach this to that stall cable and connect it to your car so that you can supercharge with that stall with this adapter. So it is kind of a useful thing for other sites besides Tesla at this point. So I'm going to show an example of that, and I'll keep on the lookout if there are any Tesla superchargers that will be working with the Fisker Ocean. I'll be testing this adapter when that comes to be. So let's go out and do a road trip. Oh, why don't I give an example of the storage case here. I am going to insert it into the bag and cinch it. So yeah, it fits in here pretty nicely, and you can store it in the vehicle, and you don't have to worry about anything getting into the ports since it's sealed in the bag. Well, guess what? Today is a surprise. I was originally going to be going to the original IONNA in Apex, North Carolina, which is just west of me. However, I wanted to try out the new IONNA in Garner, which is just south of me. This is the second IONNA Rechargery that's in my metro area, and this one's a bit different. The original in Apex was a converted 1920s gas station, and this one is a converted modern gas station with the standard overhead protection from the rain, a convenience store in the middle. I'm going to give you a quick tour around this Rechargery, but first I'm going to charge up my Fisker. And one thing I want to mention is that half of the charging stalls are NACS or J3400, and the other half on the other side there are CCS. However, there may be situations where all of the CCS charging stations are full and you may need to use the NACS stations. And that's why having this adapter comes in super handy for these situations. Also, in the future, I foresee many more new charging stations opening that are going to be NACS only. So in order to prepare for the future, you might as well have a Tesla to CCS adapter in your vehicle. I think it just makes sense for long trips where you want to get the maximum compatibility. So let's go on and charge the Ocean with the adapter. Each of the different charging station networks have different ways of starting and connecting the vehicle to start charging. For IONNA, you need to start at the card reader. You select the connector, you process the payment, and then you plug in the vehicle. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to be using 1B, and then I am going to be using my credit card. It is authorizing. All right, it is approved. Now I'm going to take the charge cable and I am going to attach the adapter to it. It will lock into place. Now I'm going to plug it in the car. So let me bring this around here so you can see it better. Open up the charge port, take out the DC cover, and then I am going to plug it in. And there we go. We are starting the process of charging. I usually go for a 10% charge when I'm doing these tests, but I didn't have enough time to drive the car down to 10%. So I instead started around 22%. Not that big a deal. I'm not going to get a charging rate as I usually do. If I get down to 10% or below, I can usually get close to 160 to 170 kilowatts. As you can see here, 164 kilowatts at 23% is not bad at all. Just to give you an idea of the ambient temperature of the plug before I started charging, it is between 92 and 94 degrees on the handle itself. 91, 97, 100, 92, 104, 96. So roughly the charge cable and the adapter are roughly the same max temperature when starting the vehicle. A nice charging detail screen here. We have information on the voltage. We're at 388 volts, 427 amps. I will be charging up to 80% today. One thing you have to do is you have to press the button for the stall here so you can see the charging detail. It goes default back to that main screen. I wish these chargers would stay on one screen. So for people like me that like to keep the nerdy information, we can record it. So far, we've charged over 10% and it's been maintaining a fairly high kilowatt, around 160 or so. All right, we are at 40%. Let's take some numbers for the temperatures. 96, 105.8, 99, and on the handle we have 96, 111.7, and 105.3. All right, we have our first dip in the charging rate here. Oh wait, we don't. So we're around 45% or so. We had a dip down in the charging to 153 kilowatts versus the 160 or so that it was. And it's not surprising to have a dip at these increments because you usually charge up pretty fast, up to 20%, and then it starts tapering down. And as you can see, that's pretty much what it's doing here. From the initial, starting at 22%, we got up to around 165 or so kilowatts, and now we're just trailing down. We're now at 150. There's a lot of things that may affect the charge curve. It could be the amount of cooling that's going to the car to cool down the batteries if it's overheating. There's also the charge station itself, since that uses a certain amount of energy to cool the cables. So sometimes you may go to a charger and it doesn't charge very fast. It could be the charger itself. All right, so we see another dip down here at 50% to 130 kilowatts. Let's take a temperature test. All right, so let's take some temperature readings again. 97.3, 103.8, 115.6, and now for the handle, 101.1, 114.8, 107.4. Usually I don't see a dip like that when you're charging. It usually goes down a bit less steep than that. But we've added 30% state of charge to the car. And it looks like it's recovering a bit here. At 55%, we're back up to around 119 kilowatts. So we've passed 60% and we're holding solid here at 117 kilowatts. Not too bad. 17 minutes to add 40% to the car. All right, let's do another test of temperature. We're going to start with the adapter. 102.6, 120.1, 125.6, 100.9, 115.6, 107.3. All right, we had a dip when we hit 65%, and now we're at 107. Voltage is 408, amps 264. We've delivered 47 kilowatt hours, and we are now about 45% added to the state of charge in 20 minutes. All right, so when we hit 70%, it dipped down to 96 kilowatts. Not unexpected. All right, I'm gonna do the last temperature check. I'm at 75%, but just to let you know, the sun is adding extra complication to this because I can take some temperatures of the car and I'm getting very high temps of anywhere from 98 to 126. I'm getting 130 in the sun on the paint. So the sun is adding extra heat to this. I probably should have done this in the shade, but this spot was the best spot for doing the charging right now. So let me go and do this temperature reading on the adapter. I'm getting 102.9, 116, 122.8, and now on the handle, I'm getting 100, 112.8, and 110.9. So it looks like temps have dropped a little bit since I'm not charging at a high kilowatt level anymore. So not surprisingly, I'm at 77% state of charge and we're now at 91 kilowatts. Once it hits 80%, it usually does a big drop down to, I think, 40 or so, 40 to 50. So I suggest when charging at these DC fast chargers to only charge to 80% unless you really need to, because to charge from 0 to 80% takes less time than charging from 80 to 100%. 2 more percent to go. All right, we're at 79, 80% now. So we have stopped. Took 28 minutes, 51 seconds to go from 22% to 80%. Pretty good, pretty good. Average kilowatt was 128. Total energy, 61.5 kilowatt hours. Total cost, $22.32. That's another thing I must add, that this charging station location is very inexpensive at 38 cents a kilowatt hour. All right, so here's our cost detail. And let's look at our charging detail. So this is what we do when we're done charging, is we press the button up here to disconnect it from the car, pull it straight out, and now we press the button under here to disconnect the NACS plug. And there we go. Then we can put this back in the car for our next charging session, and then this goes back onto the charging stall. So I have some comments about the charging adapter as far as temperature goes. The car was in full sun, and as I showed you, some places on the car got as high as 120 something degrees. The big difference is the temperatures on the Tesla plug were around 10 degrees or so less than the adapter, and I don't consider that a huge difference. It was still cool enough to touch. It wasn't so hot that it was unbearable or that I think there's any issues with the adapter. So overall, I think this was a good test scenario in very hot weather, since it is about 95 degrees outside today. And I do suggest if you're charging in areas that are over 100 degrees Probably a good idea to charge in the shade if you can, such as like this. That will help keep down the temps. But overall, I think the adapter worked pretty well. The charge curve on my Ocean, I noticed, does vary from time to time and from station to station. It did have a drop off, but I don't consider that due to the adapter itself. But I consider it could be the BMS on the car, talking to the CCS station. Overall, it's still a fairly good charge curve, and I got a decent amount of kilowatt hours added for the time. And although I like to usually charge around 10% or so to 80%, I did do a little bit higher today, going from 22 to 80. But in any case, I highly recommend the EVBASE Tesla Supercharger to CCS1 Adapter. I think it's very compact. You put this in the felt bag and you can put it under the center console or in the trunk area. Very convenient. And I think it will be more important as time goes on, as these charging stations convert to the NACS or J3400 standard and CCS becomes less available. So having these work well at these independent networks such as IONNA, Electrify America, and EVgo, there's no problems using their NACS connectors attached to this adapter. However, currently, you still can't use Tesla Superchargers with this adapter on the Ocean. And I'm guessing at a certain time that the Tesla Superchargers will allow access to all vehicles, and they're not going to lock them to the limited brands that have signed up at this point. Hard to say how long that's going to take until that happens. But since the V4 Superchargers are operating using the CCS1 protocol, it will work just like this IONNA station, because that station there with the NACS adapter is using CCS1 as the protocol, and it charges just fine. So if you're interested in this Tesla Supercharger to CCS1 adapter, I have the links in the video description. Don't forget to use code RANGER for a discount. So now I'm going to give you a tour of the site and show you what else is at the IONNA in Garner. I am now in front of the IONNA Rechargery, and I'm looking around to see what is at this exit. We're right off Interstate 40. We have a Dunkin' on this side. We have a McDonald's over here, KFC, Taco Bell, and a Chipotle, as well as the IONNA Rechargery Market that's inside the building. Let's zoom out a little bit and give you a little bit of a tour of the facility here. As you can see, this is a renovated gas station. It was most likely built in the 80s from the looks of it. A nice overhead lighted canopy, which makes things great when the weather is bad, rain or snow. On this side, we have 2 chargers and we have 2 stalls on each, so a total of 4 NACS on this side. In the center, we have CCS, 2 of those, so 2 pull-in spots right here. And these happen to be designated for handicap. And then on this side of the canopy, we have 2 more of the Alpitronic 400 kilowatt chargers, and we have a total of 4 CCS on this side. So this location has a total of 10 charge plugs, 6 CCS, and 4 NACS. Another nice thing about this location is that there is pull-through. So if you're driving with a trailer or anything on the back, if you have a truck, you can pull through and charge without blocking anybody. So that is super nice, and you get that on both the CCS and the NACS side. And then you have just the regular spots here that you can pull in forward or back into, depending on how your charge port is organized on your car. One thing I would suggest that probably wasn't optimized One thing I would have liked to see is if they put the charging stations a little bit closer, because for a lot of the cars, you're only about halfway under the canopy. So that could have been optimized, but I see why they did this. They had these separate about this distance because of the pull-through spot. They didn't want to block too many. For example, if they have one car that's pull-through, you could still have somebody pull up behind them and charge. So I kind of understand why they did that. As far as amenities go, we have trash cans and we have wiper squeegees, and there is fluid in there, something you don't often see at gas stations, and paper towels to clean off the windshield or other windows. So that is good to see. So all of the charging stations have that. So keeps the area tidy. So people throw their trash in the trash can. Another thing I noticed on this side is we do have a stall here for doing tire inflation and washer fluid, which is pretty unique as far as that goes. At charging stations, you usually don't see this sort of thing. So we have the tire inflator here. We have washer fluid there. There's a quick credit card reader here that can actually take your payment and dispense. So yeah, pretty awesome when you're on a trip and you're out of fluid or your tires are low. Another thing I want to mention is that they usually have very colorful designs on their stations, and this location is no different. They have a really nice mural on this side of the building. And overall, the site is pretty large. Plenty of places to park when you're done charging and you just need to use the facilities. I have my car parked back here after I charged, since it's nice and shady. And also notice that this is a canopy. This probably used to be for diesel. So there may be expansion room for at least 2 more charging stations in this area here. So who knows if they're gonna plan on that in the future. But if this area tends to be popular for charging, it's probably an option. I'm now going to enter the market. You need to use the QR code that's on this door or the other door to gain access to the facility. You enter your information and then they send you an email, and that will unlock the door. All right, I entered my information and now I received a text with the ability to unlock the doors. So I will do entrance number 2. I'm gonna press the button, unlock, and now I'm in. So here we have the view inside the Rechargery. This is kind of the lounge. We have 4 comfortable seats with a table. We have a little kids play area. We also have a bigger table to sit at for 6 people. We have a bunch of games for kids. And we also have a couch and 2 comfortable chairs right here and a table. I must say it is very hot outside and the air conditioning in here feels great. So very comfortable place to hang out while your car charges. Let's get a look at some other things that are in here. We have some utensils, plastic utensils, napkins, garbage can, microwave. We have nicely tiled wall right there. And we have 2 water fountains. And then we have another IONNA sign here. And we have 2 restrooms. I can use the text that I received to open the door and gain access. Overall, very nice sized area in here. And then we have the entrance to the market. So the market is going to be locked until you actually log in. So if you have an Amazon account, you can use that. So I am going to follow that. So how to shop, tap to enter. shop, and go. So let me try that out. I'm going to test it with Scan Palm. I don't think I have Amazon One set up. Let me put my credit card on here and just tap and hold. And now I can enter. So this is the Rechargery convenience store. We have a wall of snacks on this side. We got our carbs, we got our candy, we got our protein bars, more candy. On this side, we have some essentials. You get a headache. You got some basics here. And we got more snacks. And then on the back wall, we have a collection of drinks. We have Coke products. We have Monster drinks, Gatorades, various water. We also have some snacks in here, sandwiches. And if you're even hungrier, they have some items that can be heated up with the microwave that's in the lobby. So very handy there. So this is awesome since it's 24 hours. We got ice cream because you have to have ice cream. So very awesome. I am going to be bad and I am going to buy something today. Let me see. I'm gonna go for the Snickers ice cream bar since I am hot and that should cool me down. I already have some drinks in my car. But overall, the area is pretty open here. I bet they can put some more shelves if they needed, but I think they wanted to keep this nice and open for security. And as you can see, there's a nice mini split on the wall, keeping things cool. So there we go. There's a full view of the market. All right, so I am going to exit. And then what we're going to do is, I don't need a receipt right now, but I'm going to take a picture of that for my personal use here. All right, so let's test this out. Exit. And there we go. Super easy. Just what I needed. Go and grab a napkin and I'll be on my way. Oh. For security, I need to use the text to unlock the door. So it's for your own safety. And now it is unlocked. All right, well that about wraps it up today for my video. I'm at the IONNA Rechargery in Garner, North Carolina. I was able to successfully use my EVBASE Tesla to CCS1 adapter with my car. And overall, a great location. If I was stopping on a long trip, this would be a perfect place to do that. Plenty of charging stalls, a really nice interior with places to sit down. You have restrooms, a convenience store. You can grab a bite to eat or drink. So overall, super nice, and I would recommend anybody that's going through the Garner area on Interstate 40 to check it out. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.